Welcome back, everyone. This is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. You are looking at the, I believe, now ready Kenmore 158.19312 model. This is my 1970s made in Japan all metal tour de force. This machine can do all of the built-in utility stitches you see on the 1941 model, and I believe the 1581760 is very similar. There is a dizzying array of different models because Sears was such a big retailer back in the day, and they were also a massive seller of sewing machines, as they had been for almost since they were founded, going all the way back. Anyway, I have completed the restoration, and I thought I would show you all. I don't know if I've shown this before. I can't remember. It's been a while. If I haven't, how you wind bobbins. By the time we get to the 1970s, virtually all of the sewing machine manufacturers have moved their bobbin winding attachments from the front or the side up here to the top. Don't know why. I don't know if it was done for styling or just to get it out of the way to make room for all the extra fancy levers and buttons they were introducing. Regardless, the way you set yourself up for winding a bobbin, I put in a new bobbin winding tire because the one that was on here has, well, I think you can see it in the light here, has a big crack. If I get it in front of the light just right, I'm trying to make sure it shows up here. I looked at it, inspected it. Does it still work? Yes, but there's a large crack right there, and I just went ahead and replaced it as part of the overhaul. So the machine is set up. What you do, of course, is you take, and I'm going to get the camera higher up here so you can hopefully see a little bit better. This is, of course, my Class 15 bobbin, which these machines use. And if I tilt it forward, you will see there is a like a little spindle up here. But notice there is a place. There's a little. It's sort of spring-loaded. I think, yeah, it's spring-loaded. A little divot right here. There's just one. Make sure this is going to show up for all of you. That's a little bit better. Okay, you see it right as I turn this around. You're going to see it right there. And if you look at your bobbin, you will see that it has an opening for such divot. You want that opening to line up with the divot. If it doesn't, your bobbin is not going to seat properly. And it is there for a reason. It is to make things easier for you. Now, this piece, this little lever, normally sits where it is now. When you're ready to wind a bobbin, you push this toward the bobbin, and it's spring-loaded. And when this moves forward, the bobbin tire, which is sitting somewhere, you can't see it, it's underneath, it pushes it out and pushes it against the hand wheel. So we still have rubber tires using the hand wheel as a sort of pulley to get traction to wind the bobbin. Now, traditionally, in most of the vintage sewing machines that I show all of you, there is a clutch knob. You hold the hand wheel, you loosen the knob, and then you re-engage the knob when you're done bobbin winding. That is pretty standard for most vintage machines. By this time, though, they have gotten more clever, I believe, or you may disagree. Anyway, in order to disengage so your needle doesn't go up and down and create a little mess, you pull the hand wheel out to the right. I'm just going to pull it like that, and you hear a little. When that happens, your needle should be disengaged, and that should allow you to wind your bobbin. So I'm just using the second spool pin up here without removing my sewing thread so I can show you. Even if you don't do double needle sewing, not a lot of people do it, some do, you may find that this extra spool pin is useful so you don't have to take your regular sewing thread off. Anyway, I'm going to take my thread, and you can see this sort of green, lime green thread here, and I'm going to come off of the spool, and I'm going to come around. I'm going to attach it to this little piece here that's attached to the hatch. And then I'm going to come over, and of course, as always, you always thread a bobbin before you wind it from the inside out. We've got all these holes in the bobbin. Let's get a little closer. Maybe that'll make more sense. And we'll zoom in for you here. Okay, so what I want to do is take my thread, I want to come up, I want to go to the inside of the bobbin. Let's turn it back this way a little bit. I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to get the end. In fact, I'll clip it to get kind of a fresh end there. It's a little twisted. Now I'm going to come inside the bobbin right here, and then I'm going to come up from there. I want to bring the thread up through one of the holes, not on the other side. And this should give me an opportunity to do this. If for some reason you find yourself kind of like, well, it's kind of hard to do here, one of the things you can do is take the bobbin off and simply get the thread started on the bobbin, because it's kind of an odd angle to kind of go into the bobbin and then up when it's sitting horizontally. And I thought I had, there we go. So now I have, you can see I've got the thread coming from the center of the bobbin and then up. Okay, so just let that little thread tail hang there. You don't need it very long, just enough not to lose it. Come back, mount your bobbin, and again line it up with a little spring, which is where it wants to be, and now the bobbin sits. Now that we've gotten this done, you can now go ahead and push in to engage. Now hold on to this tail. Don't let it go right away, because if you do, you may end up getting the thread unraveled and having to start over. So I'm going to give power. I've got my hand wheel pulled out over here, and now I'm just going to go really slow at first to get it going. Okay, and now I can see, if I come around this way, because it's sort of blocking itself, you can see I've started to get it to wind. And as soon as I know it's on there and it's not going to come off, here I'm going to go ahead and clip the thread tail that I used to originally get the bobbin set up. Now, the same helpful hint to happiness with winding a bobbin applies whether you're doing it on this machine or one that's 100 years older. If you have a bobbin winder, you want to go at sort of what I call a medium speed. Don't hit the pedal to the floor and zoom it. If you do, you can wind the bobbin faster. However, the other thing that will happen is you will end up maybe getting the thread wound a little too tightly on the bobbin, and that impacts the tension when you go to form a stitch. So we'll just do it here, and again just going at a nice moderate pace. These bobbin winders are designed to fill the bobbin, and when the bobbin gets, I don't know, 80-90% full, it should stop, because as it builds thread on the bobbin, it's going to put more pressure on the lever, which is spring-loaded, and it should halt itself when it's done. And this spool of thread, I think the spool is made of foam or plastic, so you always want to watch and make sure it doesn't fly off. The old spools didn't have this problem. I'm slowing down a bit here. The old spools didn't have that problem because they were made of wood. And I want to watch and make sure that thread is not getting on that little spool there. It's not, but let's see what it does. If you have a bobbin winder and it does not, if it keeps winding thread onto the bobbin, you don't want it to go past the outer rim of the bobbin, because if it does, that can create problems when you go to put the bobbin in the bobbin case. And in that case, you just stop it yourself. I'm watching it, and so far I'm letting it go. It has not gotten past the rim. And we'll see. The bobbin winding attachment has been oiled so that it will move. There it goes, and it did it. Hooray! So it is It is spring-loaded. It is not computer artificially intelligent. It is your intelligence that watches it. Hopefully I have some this time of day. Anyway, so that is it. Okay, it has already pushed the lever back. I don't need to pull back on it. It's already done it itself. Now, before you want to sew, obviously we're going to take the bobbin thread source here off. And I'll just cut it right here. I pull my bobbin off. By the way, this is another good time to mention that when you, in fact, I can do it now. Notice the bobbin's not moving because the lever has been pulled back, right? So I can push here. I'm not adding any more thread because I've cut the thread, but I want you to see this. Oh, it wants to push it out. Obviously, I was going to spin the bobbin for you, but there's enough thread on it. It's going to push the lever back. But what I wanted to point out was this. When you're winding a bobbin, this is a good time to kind of inspect how true or in line the bobbin is. What I mean by that is if your bobbin is warped or bent in any way, that can heavily impact its ability to feed thread in sewing. And when you're watching the bobbin spin, it should spin with very little, if any, distortion, right? It shouldn't wobble. This one does not, and it seems just fine. So I now have a new wound bobbin. Some of you who are very, very heavy sewers have bobbin winding devices. They often will wind bobbins of different sizes, and you don't have to do the setup on the machine. But when a sewing machine was sold in the past, and even now, I believe it was never assumed that people had separate bobbin winding attachments, and so it was they had bobbin winders as part of virtually every sewing machine. Okay, so you have now seen the winding of a bobbin on a Kenmore 1581931, and this applies to many sewing machines with this kind of bobbin winder. In fact, some of those that still had the clutch knobs you would loosen, you still had the bobbin winder up top. I don't know that one works better than the other. They all should work fine for you. But even up to into the 70s, you've still got rubber tires running against, in this case, the hand wheel pulley in order to get the winding to occur. So just a simple replacement. The bobbin tire, Kenmore bobbin tires, typically from this era anyway, are larger than the Singer ones, but you can get them. They're not terribly expensive. You can find them online. It's not a big deal. They last a long time. I suspect the one that I took off that I saw the crack in, it still ran. In fact, it hadn't broken. But when I saw the crack in it, I thought, you know, it doesn't have that much life left. So I don't know if that's showing up. Maybe you'll see it right there. Anyway, always inspect things like rubber and vinyl. Those materials are not archival. They last a long time, but not that long. Anyway, next video up should be, I believe, we're going to do the test stitching, and hopefully this machine will be ready for a new home. Thanks for watching, everyone.